Alex has said that the Christmas tree is a pagan article that we brought into our home. And although there are pagan stories of trees being brought into the home, I was always under the impression that the Christmas tree was partly a result of Martin Luther, the man who nailed his theses to the door in the 16th century, the great reformer, the first to add candles to a tree and bring a tree into the house, I believe. And maybe he just put the trees on, maybe he just put the candles on the tree outside. Um, Luther had this idea that he was representing the stars, a little bit like Origen. He would have thought that the stars are inhabited by angels. But I think you can take the Christmas tree back much further in Christianity to St. Boniface, who is known as the apostle to the Germans. He was this extraordinary missionary preacher, and he went on extensive travels, perhaps more so even than Saint Paul, and a great bishop, a great evangelizer, a Catholic legend, the source of many stories. But one of those stories is that he is the founder of the Christmas tree, and the story of the Christmas trees begins when Winfrid decided to enter a Benedictine monastery over the objection of his parents, and he grew in devotion, and he was sent by the monks to Germany, to Bavaria in 716, and he travelled to Rome, and then from Rome, I think, to Germany, and Pope Gregory commissioned Winfrid and to take the gospel to Bavaria, Franconia, Hesse, and he changed his name from Winfrid to Boniface. And so this newly named monk travelled into Germany with tireless activity, and he achieved great success, converting chieftains Detic, Deerulf, and establishing Benedictine monasteries around the area, including the monastery of Fulda, and still a remarkable location. And Gregory consecrated him Archbishop of all Germany east of the Rhine, though he didn't have a particular church, an episcopal seat. So that was defying the traditional idea of the bishop, where the church is, there the bishop is also. The idea that the church and the bishop are integrated, and that a bishop should have a see, an episcopal seat. But so Boniface is one of the first bishops to be directly answerable to the Pope. And so he had this pontifical mandate, and I think he was in Germany for a couple of years. Then he goes back to Rome, and then he goes back to Germany as bishop, and he spent his life evangelizing around Germany. And at some point, he comes across the village of Geismar, and everybody's gathered around a huge old oak tree known as Thunder Oak, dedicated to the god Thor. And part of the religious practice was the sacrifice of a small child to Thor, and Boniface wanted to convert the village, and he did so by destroying the Thunder Oak. He literally chopped it down, and the local residents were horrified. It was a little bit like chopping down a tree by Hadrian's Wall, and his fellow missionaries were scared that he'd done something imprudent and that the Germans might kill them. So they ran to the outskirts of the village on Christmas Eve, and Boniface wouldn't go. And he went over to the Thunder Oak and he pointed, here is the Thunder Oak, and here the cross of Christ shall break the hammer of the false god Thor. And everybody gathered round as the tree finally fell, and the Germans were astonished. And at the bottom of the tree was a little Christmas tree. And Boniface said, this little tree, a young child of the forest, shall be your holy tree tonight. It is the wood of peace, it is the sign of an everlasting life, for its leaves are ever green. See how it points upwards to heaven. Let it be called the tree of the Christ child. Gather about it, not in the wild wood, but in your homes. There it will shelter no deeds of blood, but loving gifts and rites of kindness. So the idea that the Christmas tree being brought into your home is paganism. No, it's actually a defeat of paganism. It's a conversion of paganism. Cease your fighting. Give up warfare on behalf of the Christmas tree. Take courage and put your heart not in the Thunder Oak of Thor, but in the little Christmas tree pointing up to heaven, small, the baby tree. And that idea of using an evergreen tree to celebrate the birth of Christ, that spread around Germany, and it's that tradition that Luther picks up. It's that tradition that is picked up by Prince Albert and brought to the UK by Prince Albert and Victoria, and celebrated in the pages of the Illustrated London News, and then the traditions championed by Charles Dickens, who pretty well single-handedly then invents Christmas as we know it.